Look, if you open up X, if you open up Facebook, Reddit, whatever, hell, you can just go down to the bar and talk to your friend. And if they're not a Chiefs fan, you're going to hear the same types of things. They're going to say the NFL is rigged for the Chiefs. They're going to say that the NFL helped the Chiefs early with the Patrick Mahomes situation. And we're going to dive right into that today. Because do we have massive travel advantages? Absolutely. Do we get extra rest days? Yeah, we do. Do we have a pretty easy first 4 games? Yeah, we do. And it's awesome. If you sit down and actually map out every single game week by week, you're going to realize that the NFL didn't really give us that much of a cake schedule. They're actually setting up a deadly trap. And I'm going to get into that today. I'm going to break down all the positives and all the negatives. Let's go. So look, before we get this going, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you love the Chiefs. Let's get going. I'm going to go lay out all the facts, all the data, and I'm going to build the case for everyone that said the Chiefs got favored. And I think the Chiefs did get a favorable schedule now that I've looked at it again. The first point I want to look at is the cumulative rest days. So week to week, from week 1 to week 2, week 2 to week 3, who's getting the most rest? Is one team playing on a Thursday and then turning around and playing on Monday night and getting that extra rest? What's it look like? Well, when I went through the schedule and looked, the Chiefs actually come up to be a positive 6 days of rest. That's almost a full week more of rest than anybody. The Chiefs also have 0 teams. Zero teams coming off of a bye week when we play them. So they don't get extra time to rest, and they don't get extra time to prepare for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's a favor to the Chiefs. Also, if you go down individually, yes, the Colts get an extra day to rest in week 2. A couple teams get an extra couple days over the course of the schedule. I want to say there was a couple at the end with the Patriots and the 49ers getting 3 days of rest extra on us. But throughout the schedule, we are the ones that actually get the most rest. The Chiefs have a game versus the Chargers in week 6, fresh off the bye, where we get 13 days more rest than they do. Now, again, it's us coming off of a bye. But the thing is they don't get the extra time to prepare for us. We get the extra time. We get the extra rest time. We get the extra preparation. We get Andy Reid off of a bye, and it's a divisional opponent. So that's a pretty good deal for the Chiefs, I think, coming off of a team that we dropped 2 games to last year.
Hell yeah, it is.
This is a chance for us to get in there and get a big win in week 6 and at least set yourself up to split with the Chargers for the year. So let's look at week 10 versus Atlanta, right in the middle of the schedule. Atlanta, they're actually coming off of a game in Madrid, Spain, where they must travel back to Atlanta for their home game. That's 4,300 miles of extra travel, 8 to 10 hours of extra travel. The Chiefs get on a plane. Hey, they're about 700 miles, 2 hours away from Atlanta. We're actually going to travel less than they do to get to their home game, which is a massive win for the Chiefs right there in the middle of the season at week number 10.
Oh, hell yeah, baby, hell yeah.
So even when you look at that one, compared with no teams coming off of a bye, with that early bye week, which we'll get to in a minute, that's a double-edged sword a little bit. But we get the early bye week. That way, if Mahomes can't get in weeks 1 through 4, the schedule's not super hard for the Chiefs in week 1 through 4. Yes, we open up pretty tough on a Monday Night Football game. We also have a Sunday night game against the Colts, but then the next 2 are kind of cakewalks, let's be honest. And then we get that bye week in week 5. So maybe the NFL was helping the Chiefs recover with life, not including Patrick Mahomes. And even if Patrick Mahomes comes in, that looks like it's an easy 4-0 for the Chiefs going into the bye week. Now we have that game in Atlanta in week 10 where they have the massive travel disadvantage. There's a lot of things going in the favor that the NFL and Roger Goodell really did help the Chiefs. And I think it does work in our favor. I don't think the schedule looks as rough as the first few times I took a look at it. I think now I'm starting to come around that it's a tough schedule. Let's be completely honest. It's a tough schedule, but I don't think it's as tough as I thought it was at first. And I think now that I know that we're getting a massive rest advantage over everybody, we're not really traveling internationally. We're not playing any kind of crazy games on any days except for the Thanksgiving game in which Buffalo, they get the same amount of rest, same amount of everything. So it's not really that crazy. Look, I think that they had an excuse. The NFL give rival fans an excuse right now. They give them an excuse to say the league still babies Mahomes, still helps the Chiefs. But let me just say this. I found a few things that I'm getting ready to talk about right now that may switch it back the other way. Chiefs fans got a little bit of gas in the tank here. We can fight fire with fire. The NFL kind of screwed us on these couple of things. Let's jump right into that. So look, there's a double-edged sword with that Week 5 bye that I alluded to. We're going to talk about that really quickly. The Week 5 bye, us and the Carolina Panthers are the only two teams in the NFL that got stuck with a bye as early as Week 5. So they put the Chiefs on the same level as the Carolina Panthers. How far we've fallen. But for real, that means we do have to play 13 straight games to the end of the season. Plus, if we make the playoffs, you're going right into the playoffs. Now, look, if you win a lot of games, maybe you get the bye week early in the playoffs. But assuming you don't, 13 straight weeks, 3 weeks in the playoffs, 2 more weeks, and you're ready to go to the Super Bowl. You're going for maybe, 18, 19, 20 weeks in a row. It is brutal. So that double-edged sword there with Week 5, it is true. A lot of Chief fans are going to say, hey, they helped Mahomes get back. But look, if Mahomes is back early, then that Week 5 bye is just ridiculous, and it was unwarranted. It would have been better served maybe switching that game with Atlanta, so Atlanta didn't have to come all the way back from Spain and play us, or maybe even the Cardinals game in Week 11. That would have been a better spot for our bye, but we can't argue that now. It's water under the bridge. I think if you want to look at another thing that the Chiefs' schedule is really, it's showing some teeth, is going to be at the end of that schedule. You've got a little bit of sabotage by the league. So even though we started off a little hot, maybe you get a few early wins. Right there around Thanksgiving, it gets brutal. You're going to the brand new stadium with the Bills. You're turning around and playing the Rams, who is another great football team, on Thursday Night Football. You're going to end up playing the Bengals and Joe Burrow at Cincinnati. You're going to play the 49ers. You're going to play the Patriots. You even got the Chargers coming up. So we're going to have 6 games in a row versus basically just really good playoff teams right at the end of the year. This is when you're going for seeding. Hell, it could be even going for just a playoff spot in general. And you're going to have 6 straight games. There is no way you're getting out of those 6 straight games without taking a couple L's. Now, look, I don't know where those L's are going to be. We routinely play horribly in Cincinnati. And yes, Joe Burrow and company has I don't even know. They've got like a curse hanging over the Chiefs, to be honest. It seems like we can hardly ever get up to their level of play, or we just don't even want to come out with the fire and intensity to play those regular season games. Look, the Chiefs are going to have to do that in this stretch because they're going to get walloped if they do not. Now, I do know Patrick Mahomes has never lost to the 49ers. Maybe the Patriots have a little bit of a successful year, and then they fall back a little bit, have a little bit of a slump, or maybe they can't, bear the weight on their shoulders of 2 successful years in a row. Who knows? But I do understand that playing the Chargers there at the very end of that stretch, going into the Raiders finale game, that could be a big one that could have implications in the division. That could be a big one for just playoff seeding or playoffs in general. So if you look at that, yes, we did, going back to segment 1, we had a lot of good positives when it comes to rest. But during that 6-week span, we get a 2 to 3 day advantage of rest over the Bengals, but then the Patriots get a 3-day rest advantage over us, and then the very next week, the 49ers get a 3-day rest advantage over us. So very, very late in the season, now 2 really good teams, one in our own conference that we very well may be battling for a playoff seeding spot at the time, is going to get a 3-day rest advantage after we've already played 3, 4, 5 really good playoff caliber games in a row. That's huge. And then it goes into the Chargers game and the Raiders game, and those 2 are still to be determined. We could still see those games fall on weird days too, and maybe the Chiefs get even more crunched on rest time or whatever. But we're getting to the end of the schedule. It looks like they set us up with a little bit of a trap. But hey, the Chiefs, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And even though we should have had a really bad schedule this year, it looks like they're still holding us to the standards of the Chiefs. Like, we have to show up on primetime. We've got to beat the big dogs when it counts. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy's back, I think they're going to be up for the challenge for sure. Chiefs Kingdom, we have officially partnered with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports platform. It's distinctly separate from a traditional sports book, and it's the absolute best way to add some extra heat to every single game. The app is incredibly easy to use. You aren't playing against sharks. You're just picking more or less on an individual player projection. Think Kenneth Walker's total rushing yards per game, more or less. Travis Kelce's total touchdowns in 2026, only 4, more or less. You just pick at least 2 players, lock in your lineup, and you're in the action. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and right here in the heart of America, Missouri and Kansas. One thing we love is the new public feed. You can actually find and follow us directly on the app at All Chiefed Up. You'll be able to see our live lineups and tell our picks before we even post them here on the channel or our other social media platforms. So if you haven't joined yet, just download the app and use code HMA when you sign up. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly. Click the link in the description, use code HMA, and remember to always play responsibly. Now back to the show. So I mentioned that brutal sequence there in the middle of the season. You have week 12 versus the Bills Thanksgiving night. High emotion. The Bills are in a new stadium. Short week. Hey, man, it's rough. I don't know how that game goes. Then you got the Rams, an NFC contender, a Super Bowl perennial, on Thursday night. That's in week 13. Week 14, I already mentioned we're going to Joe Burrow. We're going to Paycor. It's tough. It is really tough. In week 15, we've got the Patriots. Yes, they're coming to Arrowhead, but they get a 3-day rest advantage. Week 16, the 49ers, they're coming into Arrowhead, but again, they have a 3-day rest advantage. And then the Chargers, we're going to LA at the end of the season. Is that Arrowhead west if you count Las Vegas Allegiant? Yes, probably so. But I'll tell you this, it's a divisional matchup. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a tough game right there at the end of the season. Tons of playoff implications. This stretch is brutal. It's 6 straight weeks of likely playoff teams. Let's be completely honest about that. This isn't a schedule. It's more of like a heavyweight defense battle every single game. It's Ali versus Frazier. It's Tyson versus hopefully Peter McNeely, with us coming out being on the Tyson end. But if the Chiefs survive this, there is nobody that can question the legitimacy of the 2026 Chiefs playoff run and hopefully Super Bowl run. So let's think about this for a second. Is this a rigged job by the NFL? Did they rig it for the Chiefs? It's rigged for the Chiefs. It's horrible. It's horrible. I don't know. I don't know if they did or not. But looking at it, it doesn't look as hard as I thought it did. I will say that. But I want to hear from you. If you look at that 6-game gauntlet at the end of the year, it's rough. It's brutal. So drop your record predictions for those final 6 in the comment. What are we doing in those final 6? I don't really care about the full season. I want to know at that brutal stretch, out of those 6 games, those 6 likely playoff games, what do you think the Chiefs go there? Do you think they go 6-0? Do you think they go 0-6? That's a little drastic. Maybe 3-3. Who knows? But anyways, I think it's a trap. And how Mahomes navigates that trap, how the Chiefs navigate that trap set up by the NFL, can they lock down the 1 seed? Can they even get in the playoffs at that point? I think it was a brutal deception by the NFL to make it look like, the Chiefs got favored, but we're going to get them in the end. It almost feels like a setup. It really does. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks for sticking with me and watching this video. You guys smash that like button, hit that sub button. And hey guys, we've always wanted to be the villains. So I guess welcome to the evil empire. We're right in the thick of it here. Let's go Chiefs.